Good morning, it's May 25th. Rained again all night. It's not currently raining, although it might spit on me a little bit, but it's very blustery, you can see. So once I get out into the wind, I'm sure I'm going to get pretty bad sound on here. I'll probably keep this a little shorter. It won't be an hour walk, I don't think. I have to interview somebody for the podcast at 11 o'clock. I have a podcast called The World Shapers, where I interview other science fiction and fantasy authors about the creative process. And today I'm interviewing Christian Cameron, who's also a historical novelist, writes fantasy, has a new science fiction novel coming out. Looking forward to talking to him. Has quite the background. But doing that at 11, and it's 9:30 as I set out, so this will probably be a little bit under an hour, this one. I'm going to go up on the dike, but I'm going to start down a little further than I normally do. Figured it might be nice to walk along the creek with the wind and the rain and everything. Used to start this, and then I'll probably just kind of zigzag around the neighborhood, come back again. It's still raining a little bit earlier, and there may be more rain coming, so I just hope I don't get caught. The hourly forecast on the weather app tells you when they expect rain, and it's not entirely reliable. Of course, this being the weather we're talking about. Temperature's nice, it's about 10 degrees. I found my windbreaker, which I've been looking for a while, which I could have used on a couple of other days. We'll go down Angus Boulevard here to the bridge, not the bridge, the steps. Already did some non-fiction bits this morning, so got that, and I got the interview, and then back to the Tangled Stars, my novel. I should be able to really power into it now. I have to. It's been like pulling teeth at times, this particular novel, and I don't know if it's because hadn't thought the story through enough. There's some of that for sure. And surprises along the way as I write it, discovering what characters do and think, and that influences the story. But it is actually also, I always thought the whole pandemic thing wasn't really affecting my writing, but I don't think it's affecting my writing so much as affecting my process, which has normally been to get out of the house to write. And I find it much more distracting to be in the house. Things have opened up a bit. I haven't checked to see if some of my favorite places are available where I could actually go and sit and write now. I might still put that off till I've got my second shot in a couple of weeks. My wife and I become eligible on June 14th for our second vaccine shot. Everybody in the family's had one now. So we're gonna go up over here for a change onto the dike. Dead end ahead. Everything is so green after all this rain. It's really nice, actually, to see it. And the sun will be out later this week again, and everything should look very lush. If you're watching this live on YouTube or Facebook, and if you have sound on Facebook, yesterday I did not have sound on Facebook again. Let me know. It's a little slightly different time than usual today, since I normally start an hour earlier than this. We may not see as many dog walkers today, given the weather. Here's the creek, and the park on the other side. It's a little muddy on the dike, but not too bad. There's my internet unstables connection warning. Hopefully if YouTube goes down, I'll see it. Alex. Just quick commenting on the unstable internet connection because nothing I can do about it. If YouTube goes down, I'll restart, and I see a message about it. But otherwise, I just keep going. Maybe I need a new phone. This is an iPhone 11 Pro. Yes, I know there's a 12, but this is hardly ancient technology. There's people on the other side. There's the creek, through the trees. Harder to see now than when I started these walks when there weren't any leaves on the trees yet and I was walking in the snow up here. There's the wind. Sorry for the wind noise. I do have a new microphone coming, a lapel mic, which I hope will also have a windscreen on it, and maybe that will improve the wind situation. I know my voice goes in and out a bit in windy conditions. Sorry for that, but no. We've got kids all over the dike up here. A little muddier up here than I thought it would be. Hello. A little muddier up here than I thought it was going to be. A little muddier up here than I thought it would be. Hi, Theodore. It's okay, it's my phone. Just past a gaggle of kids, or a squad of kids, or a herd of kids, or more mud than I would like here. More people than I thought we'd see here. Hopefully YouTube stayed up. That was another bad patch on the internet connection. More dogs. More puddles. Morning. This is fortunately graveled, so it's not too bad up here, but it's quite wet. Not one of your bright, sunny Saskatchewan days. On this side of the creek today. Yesterday I went down the other side. Mentioned this bowl over here. It's only part of the flood control, but it's very popular with kids on sleds when there's snow there. So they call it the bowl. To take Alice tobogganing there once in a while when she was little. I won't stay by the creek. We're going to sort of walk around the cathedral neighborhood once I get up here. Just probably only about 45 minutes today. Oh, good grief. There's a vehicle up here. Don't see that very often. I don't know what that's for. Never encountered a vehicle up here before. Something for the city, I guess. Maybe they're picking up the garbage. That could be. It was stocked here, so that's probably what it was. Mentioned yesterday that, two people on YouTube this morning. Hello. Azalov? Possibly more. 2 people have said hi. Sorry about the wind. It's a very blustery day. And chilly too. It's a bit chillier than I thought it would be. Wear gloves, and the hand holding the gimbal is getting quite chilly. It's 10 degrees, but with the wind blowing and the damp air, it's cooling things off. There's Wascana Creek over here. Yesterday, I checked my statistics on Apple Health app, and apparently I take roughly 1 meter per stride, just slightly under, so about a yard per stride, I guess, an average about 6 kilometers an hour. As well. Most of our flooding in Saskatchewan happens in the spring when the snow melts. But the river is pretty high right now compared to what it sometimes is because of the rain we've had the last few days. Particularly noticed that yesterday when I walked along the creek. The underpass over at the Pasco Street Bridge was just on the verge of the water coming over onto the walkway. 2 or 3 more inches and it would have been underwater. We're going to change hands and warm up my right hand. It's the Elphinstone Bridge. All nice and green with the rain, at least. It was looking pretty brown just a little over a week ago. It was like 31 degrees beginning of last week. And now there's risk of frost tonight. We're going to have to bring in some plants or cover them up. Leave the creek up here, just sort of walk around in the neighborhood. Sculpted as I changed hands again. Haven't seen anybody from Facebook, and again, I don't know if I've got sound or not. It's been a problem that I have no idea how I fix it, because I don't do anything different from day to day. And sometimes sometimes Facebook has sound and sometimes it doesn't. So if you're on Facebook, please say hi and let me know if you can hear me. Didn't have sound yesterday. Yesterday the YouTube feed went down twice. First time I caught it, second time I didn't. That's why I post a recording. The live stream is unreliable. Here's Elphinstone. Leave the creek behind. Walk into the cathedral neighborhood, it's called. Because, that's where the cathedral is. That wind is quite brisk. So far, the rain has not resumed. I'm not too worried about the phone. They're supposed to be quite water resistant, but the gimbal isn't, so any serious rain I'd have to call it quits and tuck that away. Plus, if it really starts to rain, I'm not going to want to keep walking. I'll want to get back home as quickly as possible. Some more lilacs. Kind of zig-zag our way through Cathedral, but I think I'll walk up Elphinstone all the way to 13th and then work my way back from there. So that'll be a long straight walk here for a couple of minutes. It's about, 4 blocks? A little more sheltered now, so hopefully the sound's better. Most of the older houses along here, not too many brand new ones have gone up, if any, on Elphinstone. Well, that could be a new one, hard to say. It is spitting a little bit, but nothing too serious. More lilacs. Ours are just starting to work on coming out. We've got a couple of lilac bushes around the house. The one in front is very scraggly looking and will probably come down at some point if we ever do any landscaping up front, which we'd like to, but you know, with an old house, there's always something you can do. Street sweeper coming down there. That's the streetscape there. Those kinds of houses, probably built, well, a variety of ages. The oldest ones are probably from the 20s, or even sooner. Ours was built in 1926, and some of these I would say might be a little older. Although, that garage there, I don't think. Well, I suppose it's possible. You don't see a lot of the with front-facing garages. Usually the garages lead into the alley. Keep my eye on my feet so I don't step in puddles or trip over uneven pavement. School up here that we're coming to on the left, Connaught. The original school was built there in 1914, so some of these houses would be from that same era, I would think. It's a brand new school now. They tore down the old one that had structural problems and mold, various things like that. And of course, there were people who hated to see it go, and from a streetscape point of view, I did too, but if you're a kid starting school, you'd much rather start in a modern facility like that than in a 100-year-old building, unless it reminded you of Hogwarts, in which case maybe you'd prefer the old building. My daughter's school, Davin, was also built in 1926, the same year as our house, and by the same architect, Francis Portnell. So that's Connaught School. It is starting to spit a little more, so definitely time to start wending my way home once I get around the corner up here. If it doesn't do any more than this, I'm okay. A sudden downpour would be annoying. There's a video, I don't think it's on my YouTube channel, in fact I'm sure it's not, but a few years ago a B-17 bomber came to the airport and we went out to see it, Alice and I. It took a long time because you can't have very many people on board the airplane at a time, so we were in a long line. And thunderstorm came in and there were 20 or 30 of us sheltering under the wing of a B-17. So we're sitting under an all aluminum aircraft in an open space during a thunderstorm. 2 drops on the camera. Oh. That helps. This is Connaught Library. It's been here a long time, as you can see. Over there is Slate Fine Art Gallery and one of our favorite little restaurants, the Cathedral Bistro, next to it. Hopefully they've survived the pandemic. I don't have any signs on. I'm not saying they're open again, which concerns me a little bit, because in-person dining has resumed. I'll stay on 13th here for a bit. Bit of a shopping area up here. It's not too far from downtown, but it's a little different. Saskatoon, they have a Broadway which is a similar street but much more interesting, has more interesting stuff on it than 13th Avenue does here. There may very well be more water on the camera. It's starting to sprinkle a little more enthusiastically, so I'm kind of taking the shortest way home here now. This used to be a nunnery over here on the right for the cathedral and Holy Rosary School, which is not far from here. It's now condos. Oh yeah. The rain is intensifying. It's not exactly pouring, but it's definitely no longer just spitting, more like drizzling. So I've been in there, used to know somebody that lived there, and there's a nice chapel in there that I've sung in as well. As I mention every time I go by, I once picked up a girl I was going on a date with in that apartment building there. Here's the cathedral coming up on our right. As you can see, Holy Rosary Cathedral, built about 1914, I think. Maybe 1910. I don't know how high the spires are. They're pretty high. 13th Avenue Coffee House over there. I ride in a lot of coffee houses, but not that one. It's not conducive to what I like to do. There's the front of the cathedral. Quite minimalist inside, not one of your heavily decorated Baroque type places. Over here in this building is the Penny University bookstore, which is a new, well, it's a year old now, but it opened just last year, right at the start of the pandemic. Independent bookstore. They have a lot of my books in there. Next church here is Westminster United, which has a nice dome and a very nice auditorium for music, so there's lots of concerts held in there, so I've sung in there, usually with choirs. And that's our favorite ice cream and sweet shop over there, Des Arts. There's the front. Westminster United. Brandy's over here on my right is has a post office in it, so when I send out the rewards, some of the rewards for the Kickstarter for Shapers of Worlds Volume 2, the anthology featuring authors who were guests during the second year of my podcast, The World Shapers, I'll be doing it right there. And then here's our grocery store, Safeway. Actually, I'll go down this way now. I'm starting to head home. We're still one street over, but if I go this way, that's Pacific Fresh Fish, our fish store. There's a little pub here that we don't use much, never cared for. Shannon's Pub and Grill. Maybe it's better than last time we were in there. The Takeaway Gourmet sells various things, but we like to buy cheese there. They have a nice selection of cheese. And then there's a chocolate shop and a bakery. And then Japanese restaurant, Japanese Korean. And that's where we got our meat, Butcher Boy meat. So your one-stop shopping area. This is the side of Safeway here. And scummy graffiti type. I have no use for graffiti types, graffitiists. I certainly don't call them graffiti artists. I mentioned before, our piano that we have in our house used to live on the top floor of this building. It belonged to a music teacher, one of the first music teachers in Regina, Madame Burkett. And she was up on the top of that building. And when she went back to England, she retired, my wife's grandparents bought her piano because my wife's grandmother was very musical and had sung in recitals and that sort of thing. And that piano is now in our living room. It's a kind Kanabe, built sometime after 1918 and before 1929, so it's about 100 years old. Grand piano, not a concert grand, but this house always interests me. It was clearly a store, but it's been a house for as long as I've lived around here. Just wondered what it's like inside. I play the piano a bit, not proficiently, but enough to get by and enjoy myself. But I haven't done it for a while. I have a guitar, which I got at a fundraising auction at my daughter's high school like 3 years ago, or thereabouts. And I started learning to play it and then stopped. And I keep meaning to get back to it, but time becomes more and more precious, it seems like. It slips by faster and faster. I'm more focused on the writing side of stuff. Also, I have arthritis in both thumbs, and especially on the one holding the neck of the guitar, that's a bit of a problem when you're playing. So I need to try it again. It hasn't been bothering me as much as it did for a while. So maybe it wouldn't hurt quite as much as it did when I first was trying to play. I used to play bass guitar in a high school group. Enjoyed that. French horn was my other musical instrument. I was reasonably good at that. I won a music festival trophy or two. But didn't pursue it past university, and even by the time I hit university, I was nowhere near as good as the other French horn players in the band, so. Also, French horns are really expensive. I played trumpet for a couple of years. I could afford a trumpet, but French horns are very, very expensive instruments, and anyway, never got one, haven't played, and I doubt my embouchure would survive these days. Plus, I'm old enough. I'm not sure I want to put increased pressure on the blood vessels in my brain. I play an instrument with a really small melody. Played clarinet for 10 days. Played saxophone long enough to do it in a show. Most of these things, once you know how to make a sound on a wind instrument, and it's just a matter of learning the fingerings. Well, there's other things, but, and of course you can play any brass instrument once you know how to make your lips buzz. I even played sousaphone, which was a huge change from trumpet and French horn. Played that for a while when they didn't have a trumpet available and no French horn, I think is what happened. My daughter played trombone. I've never played that, but I could certainly make noises on it. I just have to learn the technique of the slide. I even have a bugle, a First World War bugle. Got it from an antiques dealer in Weyburn when I was a kid. She gave it to me. It's quite beat up. The bell is, but it still plays. And the stupidest thing I did was the day I got it, it was a Sunday, middle of winter, bitterly cold. We'd been to these people's house for lunch, and that's when she gave me this bugle. So it was in the car. Then we went to Sunday evening service, because I went 3 times a week growing up. Sunday morning, Sunday evening, and Wednesday evening. And after church, I was excited to have this bugle. So I went out to the car where it had been sitting in -20 weather and put it to my mouth, and immediately knew I had done the wrong thing, but there's no easy way out at that point. And pulled it away and left this little ring of skin off of my lips on the mouthpiece. I think every kid in Saskatchewan has done something like that once. If you do it twice, you're not too bright, but It's easy to do it by accident, but like the burned child shuns the fire, the frozen-mouthed child shuns metal objects in the wintertime. At least it wasn't my tongue. I think that would be far worse. The lips just stung a bit, but the skin quickly grew back. All right, well, this is our intersection, and this is a shorter walk, but with the rain and because I have a podcast interview to do in 45 minutes here, I wanted to keep this one a bit shorter. So I will stop up here at the corner for today and see what it's doing tomorrow. There is more risk of rain, but so far, even on our rainy days, I've always found a window and I can still do my walk. So far, I haven't missed a day since sometime in March. Alrighty, I will stop right here. So thanks for watching live if you watch live, and thanks for watching the recording if you're watching the recording, and I'll be back tomorrow. Bye for now.